everyone, welcome to StudyIQ English. Welcome to the lecture where you and I will talk about how the current affairs actually form the backbone of UPSC exam. Now, if you have a look at the previous year papers, if you analyze the trend of UPSC exam, there is one thing that stands out clearly. That no matter how much time and energy we invest on static topics, but majority of UPSC questions, whether it's your prelims exam, whether it's the 4 GS papers of the mains, in fact, even including your essay paper, including papers like ethics, some of the optional paper too, most of them will somewhere relate to current affairs in a very significant manner. In fact, a lot of aspirants who have successfully cleared the exam also say that UPSC for them was all about mastering current affairs. 60 to 70% of all the UPSC stages, all the UPSC examinations ultimately are about what's happening in the news. What headlines have become popular? Which places have been in the news? Which are the latest government schemes? Which statistics about global poverty, about corruption, about ease of doing business, gender parity? Which statistics are related to all these topics released by top-notch global institutions as well as Indian government? At the same time, there are various other things such as a climate-induced disaster or a flood or a cyclone that has happened, any critical biosphere reserves or any biodiversity hotspots in the country that have made news. A very recent example could be how the IUCN, International Union for Conservation of Nature, had pointed out just about few weeks before that in India, biodiversity hotspots including Western Ghats, including the Sundarban mangroves, as well as the area near Himalaya, the Trans-Himalayan region, all these are now degrading decade after decade, and we need a special protection program for these. So whether it's about tribal rights or whether the question is about why was the National Security Act invoked in the case of Ladakh controversy, the demand for statehood and Schedule 6. No matter which topic we look into, after all, static information comes in UPSC in its dynamic form. So the best part about UPSC exam is that it is not an exam of your passive knowledge, because it's very easy. I always say when I take CSAT and essay classes is that passive knowledge is rather easy to acquire. You can have a look at books and magazines and you can learn. Obviously, there is a component of memorizing, rote learning. All these make passive knowledge acquisition, learning definitions, cramming statistics, all that's the easy part here. The real challenge is how many of us can actually relate to all these static topics in their dynamic form. That means how are various current affairs relating to these? In fact, if you ask me, in the last 5 years, from 2020 onwards, success in UPSC exam has been based on one critical skill, one factor. How successfully has a candidate connected a static information, a static topic like that of history, geography, polity, economics, or even science and technology or international relations? How successfully has a candidate been able to relate this, connect these static topics with the ongoing news events? And that's what defines UPSC success, because UPSC is not an exam of passive knowledge, it is an exam of conscious awareness. It is an exam of analysis, and when you analyze, you develop yourself an individual perspective about various things that happen around you. How well you can relate to them. How do you form opinions and views and perspectives? After all, as future officers, UPSC aspirants will have to solve real life problems, real life case studies, and an individual with an open mind, someone who relates to everything that's happening globally and within the country, is also the right person who can deal with various complex challenges. With that in mind, let's once again repeat. Current affairs are indeed the backbone of the UPSC exam, not only the first stage of preliminary exam in the form of GS paper 1, but also all the main stages, all the mains papers as well as your interview. Even interview being a personality test will definitely focus on what's your perspective on various current issues, global or domestic. If UPSC is all about current affairs, then what could be that perfect strategy? What could be that smart plan through which we not only cover everything, we also make sure we remember everything? If that's what is going to come in the exam, so we better be well prepared with the current affairs segment. So now in this small interaction with you, my idea is to walk you through various strategies in which we can master current events. And basically, I want to explain you what exactly does UPSC expect from you. So if you are someone who imagines that UPSC will only ask me, okay, in Ethiopia, one volcano has recently been in the news, and the volcano, as the erosion, as the explosion took place, it also spread a lot of dust, including into countries like India, Pakistan. It is in fact moving towards the eastern hemisphere. So which volcano is that? If we expect that UPSC is going to ask us such simple questions directly based on current affairs, then we are wrong, because UPSC is not going to ask you which state in India has the highest multidimensional poverty. UPSC is not going to ask you what was India's rank in the latest World Global Gender Gap Index. UPSC is also not going to ask you that which state in India recently began the whole controversy about having an upper line to the bills approved or passed by the governor or the president at the center. UPSC is definitely not going to ask you that recently which state in India has requested some amendment to the Wildlife Protection Act 1972. I wish it was so easy. In that case, anybody who's reading newspaper every day, who's taking the newspaper analysis class every day, very casually, even if they are not very focused, not very attentive, they will still manage to pass these questions. They are straight questions from current affairs. But that's not what UPSC wants you to do. Then what does UPSC exam expect? It expects active engagement with the topic. So there are two things you look at a current event, okay? One is you just look at it from outside in a very superficial way. You say, okay, very recently we have seen in the news that Japan is establishing some kind of a military setup in one of the islands near Taiwan. It's very near to Taiwan, about 100 to 110 kilometers from the coast of Taiwan. And China is upset about it. China has a problem with that. Right. One thing is you only know the name. Okay, the name of the island is so and so, and that's the controversy. The other thing is that you not only see at this current event superficially, artificially from outside, you actually go into the deep. You do a 360-degree analysis of this current event, and how is that possible? And that's exactly what UPSC wants you to do, to engage with current affairs. And that's also the idea behind the Hindu analysis class that I take every day at 9:30 a.m. with all my dear aspirants, because you know, we here at StudyIQ do not believe in my coming and passively reading out the newspaper to you one by one, various news items. No, that's not the idea. That anybody can do. My idea is always that we should together grow into a learning dynamic community. And that's why it's a wonderful session, because aspirants are participating. A very good example is every day as we discuss the newspaper, have you seen how we cover 360-degree? A 360-degree overview of the topic is taken by us. Why? Because UPSC doesn't ask you what happened. UPSC says, why did this happen? UPSC says, if it has happened, what does it mean for India? If something has happened in the news, with which constitution, article or schedule or amendment does it relate with? So you see, one current event, and how beautifully we have to relate it with GS paper 1, 2, 3, 4. With its historical aspect, geographical, ecological aspect, with its political aspect, with its foreign policy aspect. And that's also the idea behind our classes. I think those who follow the classes will relate to me here. Like today morning itself, I distinctly remember we were just in general talking about an article We were looking at an article that was mentioning about Article 33 of the Constitution, special provisions for the armed forces. And there, as I spoke about Article 33, I remember all the aspirants started then covering it with a 360-degree dimension. Yes, we spoke about various other provisions for armed forces. We spoke about how sometimes when officers in the armed forces are acting as people in uniform, they are a part of military, a very prestigious duty, then how does it correlate with their own personal religious conscience and belief? So we also touched upon Article 25 to Article 30 of the Indian Constitution. From there, we looked at some other case studies and many different kind of Supreme Court judgments in the past. And then we also spoke about the ethical dimension of that. Yes, we did talk about Indian society into this. You will wonder how? Because we related the topic from Article 33 to secularism. From secularism to various Supreme Court judgments, and then we shifted towards characteristics of Indian society because it's polycultural and diverse. We believe in uniformity of code, the protocol of duty. In military, we are supposed to respect unity among various officers. So this is unity without uniformity, diversity without fragmentation. Remember, we spoke about that. And that's the idea of learning. That one current affair, one topic in the news should then be related to various dimensions of UPSC syllabus. It should be looked at historically, it should be looked at geographically as well as economically. In the beginning, it takes time. But then as you get used to it, it is something that happens very, very fluently. And the best thing about this approach, the 360-degree multi-dimensional approach, is that we never ever forget. Because everything in the news is eventually repetitive. Remember, it's been a very long time now. But various articles of the Constitution, Article 200, Article 201, they have consistently been in the news in the last 4 or 5 months. Similarly, there was another Amendment Act that was very controversial. Yes, it was about how can we remove corruption from public office. All the MLAs or MPs who have criminal charges on them are supposed to vacate offices. Which amendment am I talking about? Can you tell me in the comment box? See, and this is what happens. If you keep discussing about related things each and every day in the morning, you will never forget them. And then many aspirants sitting together revising, giving their own opinions naturally means we do a 360-degree coverage. So in UPSC, as I said, to sum it up, it's not enough to know one news item. It's not enough to know that Pakistan and Afghanistan are recently having a fight. It's not enough. It's not enough to know that now International Criminal Court had issued a warrant against Russian President Mr. Putin, and that's why he could not come to attend G20. That was one news. But then we did a whole coverage of G20. Why was it held in Africa for the first time? What does it mean when we have it in Johannesburg and America boycotts that? Why did America boycott the summit? And then another question, which other global conventions has America been boycotting? We need to talk about the Paris Agreement. Yes, we need to talk about the Gavi Vaccine Foundation. We need to talk about the recent G20. In fact, America threatened recently that we will not invite South Africa to the upcoming G20 that America is going to host next year. Yes, including the COP30 summit at Brazil. So you see, one thing is leading to another. And that's the idea behind a 360-degree coverage. It ensures revision. It shows you are not only reading the topics, you are dissecting the topic. And that's what we need. Now, second very important thing is cross-linking of current affairs by using the map. I often tell my students, see, don't study current affairs, engage with them. They engage you very well. You don't have to do much. These are not dead facts. These are not dead facts from, say, medieval Indian history. Some random fact about some great empire coming from ancient or medieval India. Now, that's something you have to really learn through rote learning. It's tough to engage with that. It's something that happened in the past. It's really very static. Or if I ask you in your optional paper 1, let's take an example of sociology, right? If you are reading about, say, Karl Marx. Now, if Karl Marx had said something about historical materialism, if he had said something about nature alienation, you have to study it the way it was. There are certain things you cannot challenge. There are definitions, there are historical facts, There are geographical, economic concepts. Yes, we need to learn them the way they are. There is a limited scope for innovation. But that's not true in the case of current affairs, because current affairs mean something that's dynamic. It's happening each and every day. So you don't have to really do that effort. You just have to show the interest. It engages you itself. It's like a magnet. You keep getting drawn into that. And the more you do, the more you start enjoying that. I clearly remember when I start the Hindu analysis here at StudyIQ English, a platform which I really love to be associated with, not just because we are offering so many things to the aspirants, but also because we believe in engagement. Engagement is the key thing that I have not experienced in my career in many places. Today I realize that the beauty of actually going deep into current affairs is made possible through group effort. One individual studying alone may not accomplish that. And that's why I keep suggesting you discuss current affairs with friends. The more you talk about it, the more you remember. Create a community. You could have a WhatsApp community, a Telegram community, in which you can keep interacting about these current affairs. If one aspirant is saying something that's wrong, the other aspirant corrects that. I myself keep asking aspirants every day in the morning, in the newspaper session, so how many cases are pending in front of the Supreme Court? We know Supreme Court or the Collegium is working in full capacity right now. Recently, even the Chief Justice of India, yes, Justice Surya Kant has now taken oath to the office. Before that, we were discussing about the number of cases pending in front of Supreme Court bench. I keep asking, was it 86,000? Was it 88,000? And then students confirm. And ultimately, we get a clarity, okay, these many cases were pending. Or how many Ramsar sites does India have right now? If the latest one is Goga Bill, then today how many of them are there in total? You see, group activity and discussion is the best way to ace current affairs, okay? So, I always tell aspirants, use map. Engage with that in a very exciting manner. You are going to enjoy that very much. It's not a burden, trust me. A lot of aspirants feel remembering 1.5 years, more than 15 months of current affairs is very stressful. Actually, it's very enjoyable. See, we have to change our perspective towards them. The more you relate with the world you live in, the more you enjoy knowing about it. It's as simple as that. It's very basic. So take a map. As I said recently, if there was a volcano eruption in Ethiopia, and we all know that cities, including Mumbai, the residents were complaining that what if the poor air quality can be justified because of the smoke that comes from them? What regulations were issued by the Directorate General of Civil Aviation in India to avoid taking some flight routes? Before that, once again, the Delhi area was in the news because of GPS spoofing, almost like a cyber fraud that happened. Yes? So remember that time, what did I say? I said, please open up the atlas. If you don't like the atlas, take up the globe. You can have a globe as well, but atlas is better. Take a political one and take a physical one. Now, say if you're reading about this volcano in Ethiopia, it's a very good idea to pinpoint it in the map. Because if you do that once, you will be engaged. Now you will want to see how much is the border between Ethiopia and the neighboring states, which is the largest neighbor of Ethiopia. From there, your eyes may go towards the Horn of Africa. From there, you might get reminded of what happened last year. Yes, we had a big controversy about the Suez Canal that was choked up. Okay, and because of that, supply chains got ruptured everywhere. From there, definitely in your mind will come the Houthi rebels and how they had damaged the undersea cables. That was also in the news. And then you go to the Sahel region. You will remember that once in the class we spoke about the Great Green Wall of Africa. So what is Sahel? How many countries? Recently, Sudan was also in the news because of the ongoing civil war. Right? So you see, this is how you relate one thing to another. If you remember long back, it was Mahatma Gandhi, in fact, who gave this concept of Nai Talim, holistic education. The best thing about that approach was this: one thing leads to another. So he used to propagate charkha, right, the spinning wheel. And why did he propagate that? He said that if children use the spinning wheel, not only will they learn how to make cloth, but they will also learn maths by calculating everything about the radius, about the number of spokes. He also said it will remind them of the black soil where cotton grows and which other states in India have the black soil. It will remind them of the history of cotton production. Right? So you see, one thing always leads to another. UPSC is a very multi-dimensional. It's a very multifaceted exam. Here you cannot do a watertight segregation between history, geography, polity or economics. Definitely it's all integrated. It's multidisciplinary. So the more multidisciplinary approach you have, the better you perform. So next time onwards, whenever you are studying about current affairs, use map. Today in the morning, we have showed the map of Taiwan. We spoke about how China, Japan, Taiwan are right now engaged in a controversy where China says, no, Taiwan is a part of China. Yes, China plus strategy, China plus one strategy, that Taiwan is a part of me. And therefore, many countries do not recognize the sovereignty of Taiwan. And suddenly one student mentioned APEC. Is that the reason why APEC, Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation, it doesn't call its members as countries, it calls them as economies. Is that the reason? Because many members like Hong Kong, Taiwan do not have sovereignty? Yes, that's the reason. And then I said, then do you know, is India a member? We've been trying since 1991, but APEC membership is closed since then. And then some third student spoke about the Bogor Declaration. You see, that's how it fluctuates from geography to history to IR to economics. And that's exactly the approach you should have for all the current affairs. Right? Now, one more suggestion from my side. As we read these current affairs, an excellent approach should be try to capture at least one data for every big news that's now making headline. Now, I'm not saying you remember every data. It's not possible humanly, but a very good idea could be maintain a separate online note if you are a big fan of digital form of learning and writing. But then if you are somebody who believes in my style, I have a very old school style of learning and studying. I still use the paper and the register. I like that, the pen register format. I think when I write, I learn better. So if you are one of those who believe that, you can maintain a separate register or a thin notebook as well, in which you register at least one data for all the major news, major headlines. Good example, you are studying about the COP30. Yes. Now you know that various countries which are developing countries are angry about why did the developed countries not give them proper carbon finance. And India also stood for Common But Differentiated Responsibilities, the CBDR structure. Today, developing countries are demanding how much? $1.3 trillion finance by the end of 2035. Write that down. Today, you know that there were certain declarations made at the ASEAN 47 Summit Kuala Lumpur, or APEC South Korea, or SCO Shanghai Cooperation Organization, the Tianjin Declaration. Is there any important data that you need to capture? Do you need to know about the latest female labor force participation rate in India, or the new 4 labor codes that have been announced to implement now? They will be implemented now finally after 2020. Any specific data on that? Take that register, make separate headings there. Economic, polity, geography, history, IR. Keep registering. History you wouldn't find much unless of course there is an excavation. Like in Tamil Nadu, do you remember Tenkasi? Do you remember Tenkasi, Tamil Nadu? Chalcolithic? Yes? Did you see that in the news? Something like that. So there you can register all the archaeological news. So in topic-wise topic, keep writing that data. You will remember that data, which later you can use in answer writing in the mains. You can also use it for writing your beautiful essays. Now a very big question is here. A lot of students keep asking whether we should study everyday daily newspaper in detail, or should we depend only on monthly publication and magazines? Well, my answer is going to be a rather hybrid one. It is very, very good and highly suggested to read the newspaper. If you are someone who hates reading it because you just pick up the paper, you read it, follow the articles, editorials are half-baked, sometimes you understand them, sometimes you don't, then don't take it as an endorsement from my side, but as a strong recommendation from my side. You should take up the news analysis with whichever is your favorite faculty in the industry. You should do that. It's highly recommended because the idea behind Hindu or Indian Express news analysis is to break down news articles into simple format for you. All the teachers and mentors who are experienced know how to summarize that article by including all the major points and data. That saves your time. Another benefit what I see in my own classes is that there is a community now. There is a good group of about 50-55 students who keep coming and they exchange a lot of ideas, and we just started. That's in August end. And you see, the positivity is that today many more people remember much more as compared to when they had just begun, because many of them are now beginning their preparation. But they learn faster because there are more people to mentor them. There are great ideas coming through the floor. One student is slightly more, experienced because they have prepared earlier. Some students are very new to the domain. So now with exchange of ideas, one justifies some fact to another. One person gives the data. One person gives another idea. And that generates more innovation. And that's how everybody is learning quicker, much quicker. And I have observed that change. That's the beauty of newspaper reading. So I suggest, rather than doing alone, join a group or join a class which can engage you and which can make sure that you revise every day. That 1.5 hours in the morning every day takes care of a lot of your preparation, because 70% UPSC is current affairs. Now, if it's not working for you, suppose because of whatever constraint you are not in a position to take a morning class. Is there any other option? Yes. In that case, think of the monthly magazine. Then that's your only refuge. Take up a nice monthly magazine. We at StudyIQ also do our news compilations, and the good thing is we make sure we are not leaving anything behind. We also just don't tell you the headline. We break them down into deeper details. That's a very good idea. But apart from that, we also provide you with summary of the PIB, Yojana, perhaps Kurukshetra. So all these are very good magazines. Economic Political Weekly is also really very good. If you want extra support for that, you can reach out to us. Definitely we can support you on that. So monthly magazines are also good. But in my opinion, a daily newspaper session is more enriching, 100 times more enriching. Why? Let me also tell you. If you are someone who's depending only on monthly magazines, it will become too much for you. It's monotonous. Imagine 30 days of news if you are reading together. How will you learn that month by month? Fine, you read it also. What's the guarantee you will remember it? It's very tough. But then if you take the daily newspaper as an enjoyment session, as a participatory session where you are not a passive listener, because we at StudyIQ don't believe in that passive news reading. It's very outdated and conventional. We believe in active reading. So there you start enjoying because you are participating. One comment made by you, one question made by you can make a difference to other people as well. And that's the beauty. Every day, in the process of enjoying an interaction, you are still remembering, and you will always remember. I have this very big confidence, a huge confidence, and I'm saying this openly, that if I ask even one question from August onwards about any current affair, you ask any of these 55 people who are there with me in the morning, everybody will respond. Not even one aspirant will not know. And that's the beauty of group revision. You interact and you learn, so you never forget. So otherwise, also, if you think you can take the newspaper classes, but sometimes you can't be regular, then use a hybrid strategy. Take the newspaper class, but the day you miss it, just to cover that up at the end of the month, you can also use a good quality magazine. Plus, you can read other magazines like Yojana. Sometimes they are monotonous, but we also provide you the summary of that. That's a very good idea. It gives you more ideas to write answers in the mains exam. And now, how to practice the PYQs, or should you do the multiple choice sample questions? Both are important. Both are important. PYQ practice is important. It gives you an idea about the style of questions in UPSC, about the trend of UPSC. So in my suggestion, begin from at least 2014 and try to solve all the questions until 2025. That's very crucial, whether it's CSAT or whether it's GS paper 1 prelim. So please do that. That's for PYQs. Now with regards to MCQs, you have multiple test series. We also offer you multiple test series. If you are willing to join a course with us, we will keep conducting weekly and bi-weekly tests for you. We will also give you time limited test. So we will also test your time-wise performance. That's a very good way of improving your performance speed, right? So please take mock tests regularly. It helps you revise. It gives you also a great deal of clarity about whether you're prepared or not. Now, the beauty of current affairs, the beauty of doing morning newspaper class, and the beauty of actively discussing with each other is right here. Look at this question from 2025, a small proof. Consider the following countries: Austria, Bulgaria, Croatia, Serbia, Sweden, and North Macedonia. Which of these are the members of NATO? NATO has been consistently in the news, and why was it in the news this week? Because President Trump has told Ukraine that stop fighting with Russia now. And Please give up all the occupied territories and go for disarmament and forget about all your dreams of joining NATO. A big slap in the face for Ukraine. Yes, that's why it was in the news. Now, this is a rather static question about NATO. What should be the answer? Maybe many people will be able to give me answer that, okay, answer is B. Out of these, there are just 4 countries which are actually a part of the NATO in all this list. Fine, we can do that. But are you sure that in the upcoming exams, if any such question comes on G20, ASEAN, SCO, G77, G7, BIMSTEC, okay, will you be able to deal with all such questions without making a single mistake? If yes, wonderful. If no, that's the beauty of revising every day in the newspaper class or a current affairs class, because every day we deal with these issues. Every day we talk about these things, that Austria is not a member but a member of NATO Partnership for Peace program. Similarly, we also discuss how North Macedonia became a NATO member in 2020. We keep talking about these things. Who is the latest member? What's the news of you on Ukraine? What was the main exercise Zapad? Why was it being held? Which is the first non-NATO country to participate in exercise Ocean Sky? These are the questions you get in prelims. Okay, and if you should know the answers to these, you have to constantly engage with current affairs. Similarly, a question from 24. What is the 100 million farmers? Similarly, for next year, I am quite confident one question will come on. A kind of civil society organization that maintains many boats and ships. And the idea is to support the people of Palestine to get their liberty, to get humanitarian aid to them. The ships of this organization were often attacked by Israel near the coast of Gaza, and that was criticized by the people the world over. Which organization am I talking about? It was in the news and we discuss about it almost every day. We touch upon these topics. So here, what should be the answer? Yes, it is about transition towards food and water systems that are net zero. So by what year is India planning to become net zero? By what year is India planning to become the Viksit Bharat? When did India last submit India's updated nationally determined contributions? And which month was that? And what is India's latest NDC? And which other country has promised an NDC of 60%? All these questions, you see, that's the magic of doing the newspaper class. You become such expert at current affairs and you are not even taking any pressure, because all this is happening as a friendly, fun discussion, and that's the beauty here. Similarly, question from 24. It's about the Grains Council. Is India a member? We know it is. But is that a mandatory thing to be able to export and import rice and wheat? No, absolutely not. And quickly, if I ask you a question, which was the state from India that has recently exported a lot of rice to countries like Costa Rica and Papua New Guinea? What was that state in India? So, will you be able to give me the answer? Perhaps, yes, if you have been regular with current affairs. So that's the beauty of joining the newspaper class. That's the beauty of following everything and relating it with 360-degree coverage. It's history, it's geography, it's polity, it's foreign policy, it's economics. It's not enough to know. Why did Chhattisgarh export such good amount of rice to Costa Rica and Papua New Guinea? You should know which rice was that. Is it a GI product? Then, which are the latest GI products from India? Which quality of rice is more predominant? In what kind of soil will it grow? Was there a controversy about rice cultivation leading to methane production? Is rice the new coal? Then what's the controversy about the acute pollution in NCR, Punjab, Haryana, UP? Was it about stubble burning? Can there be a solution to that? Then what is the graded response action plan? And what's the role of CAQM? All these questions. Okay, they are all interrelated to every subject of UPSC, because ultimately for the UPSC current affairs, whether prelims or up till interview, you should know various schemes and government policies. Such a detailed discussion we have about the Mukhyamantri Mahila Rozgar Yojana. The reason behind a landslide victory for NDA in Bihar. It was able to really support the livelihood for women voters. Also, from voting, we have to talk about what's the difference between Representation of People Act 1950 and 1951? What's the difference? Who in India decides citizenship? Does Election Commission have that right? Which part of the constitution is that? Then what about Assam? What are the separate provisions for Assam? So all these questions are crucial to UPSC current affairs. Various bills, acts and amendments. Similarly, High Court, Supreme Court judgments, very crucial. Today we were discussing about a very famous case about Lieutenant Samuel and how he was removed from the military because he followed his religious conscience and did not follow a protocol of the military. Delhi High Court acted, but Supreme Court did absolute deterrence. It did not act on it. What about that? Recently, the new Chief Justice of India, Justice Suryakant, has said we have to think about ending the collegium system and bringing back the NJAC. That was rejected long back in 2015. What is that? All that. And then reports and indices released by global Indian bodies, international events, summits, environmental summits, cultural summits. Recent India-Canada partnership for rare earth materials. Science and technological developments, very important. Which is the first gene modification technology created by India indigenously to cure which disease? And which populations are majorly impacted by that disease in India? Let me know the answer. Environmental Convention. Economic data trend report. So the economic survey is also quite helpful here. The Manorama yearbook could also help you if you like a cluster of current events together. Important personalities, awards and recognitions. So if all this is crucial for UPSC, then it's better that something that is 60% to 70% of UPSC weightage should be given most focus. Use the map, use the globe. Yes, you can watch documentaries, but most importantly, engage with like-minded people who can support you, who can push your remembering, memorizing and enjoying current affairs. So I welcome you in our Hindu news analysis every day at 9:30 a.m. Monday to Saturday, only at StudyIQ English. And if you want me to become a part of your journey, to come and talk about current affairs, CSAT, everything, then here's one thing you can do. It is a very affordable price of 5499. You can enroll for this SAIL program that is about success in prelims. Under this, if you take this program, which is one click away, we will coach you from tomorrow until June 2026. Also after the prelims exam, that's 24th May. We will do the paper analysis also. We will ensure and guarantee your success in GS paper 1 prelims in CSAT exam by covering all the portions, revisions, MCQs, PYQs, one-on-one mentorship. All this only at 5,499. And how can you enroll for the sale? Use code SPLIVE. So use code SPLIVE, SPLIVE today and become a part of our UPSC preparation journey. And the sale is ending 30th November. But don't worry, even if you are writing the exam in 2027 or 2028, we have exciting options for you. A price of only 12,4999 valid until 30th November is available to teach you all GS subjects 1, 2, 3, 4, including answer writing, essays, news, everything. Only 12,4999. If you are interested, the batch is already beginning now for Hindi, English, in English medium, morning, evening, weekend classes. Use code SPLIVE and enroll today. Similarly, for 2028, if you are interested, same code SPLIVE, price 30K, but the course is valid for more than 15 plus months. We cover prelims here, we cover mains here, and basic interview guidance program also, plus one-on-one mentorship. So allow us to become a part of your journey and let's nail it together. Thank you so much for being with us. If anybody needs more clarity on the SAIL programs, here in the description box, there is a form. Fill that up and allow us to reach out to you. So thank you so much and keep supporting us at StudyIQ by liking, subscribing and sharing. Thank you.